up, everyone? Welcome to another online episode, lockdown episode. I think it's 3 or 4, I've lost track. And today on the show is my man, Luke Salway, sitting in Bangkok. He's the CEO and master facilitator of Coachology. I hope I got that right. And he does trainings and coaching across Asia. But we're going to find out who he is and what he does. And right now, he's also sitting out of his own living hall doing the same thing that I'm doing. And we're just going to shoot the breeze together and see what you guys stand to get out of this session. So, Luke, how you doing, mate?
Hey, yeah, very good. Thanks, John. All good here in Bangkok. We are officially starting our lockdown today, about a week behind you guys in Malaysia. And interesting times, that is for sure. Very, very interesting times. It's, there was a lot of talk the last couple of months before all this kicked off about, disruption and innovation and that companies should be doing more of it. Ta-da! Now that Mother Nature, the universe, call it what you will, has given us one of the biggest disruptors in life, that certainly in my 46 years that I've ever seen. Yeah. So interesting times, my friend.
Yeah, and in fact, I think it's a global disruption. The entire world is just shaken right now, and everyone's affected. All of us. I mean, it obviously started in this part of the world, but I think now that America has woken up out of its slumber, I think everyone's well aware of what's happening. And it's
absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely affecting all of us. But you know what? All that said and done. Given what I do, given what you do, today I want to tell your story, Luke, and I want you to share as openly and as candidly as you can. Maybe yours is your journey. What are you doing today in Bangkok, and all of what's coming up. And I guess just to summarize it, within the short conversation that we have, so that given the fact that we met on an NLP platform, I think 3 years ago.
Yeah. Maybe 3 years. Yep.
3 years ago. And, a lot has happened since, but you're the one who's still actively in the system, still doing it, a full-on practitioner. And I think it'll be good to just hear your point of view on that. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about you, who Luke is and where he came from and what he did and what he's doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, John. So originally from Australia, I worked 10 years in the manufacturing industry in Australia. Which wasn't a whole lot of fun, packing boxes in a factory with no windows. And I began to think that there must be more to life than packing boxes. So I actually attended my first personal development seminar in Sydney, Australia, all those years ago. This is, about 20 years ago now. And, I remember the facilitator said, you'll get out of this workshop whatever you put into it. So I really played fully at like 200%. And my mind at the end of those short days was totally blown in the way that I perceived myself and my place in the world. And I just realized there was more to life than packing boxes.
Yeah.
And so I actually, I left Australia and I went backpacking for 1 year around the world. And because I knew that there was just so much about life that I did not know that I did not know. And so as I left Australia, I actually went to an advanced workshop that I had attended, which was in Chicago in the States, and then traveled fully around the world for a year. And the last destination was Thailand. And I thought, Thailand, this is nice. And I actually had I'd spent all my money. The credit card was maxed. I had about $200 left in my pocket. And a one-way flight from Bangkok back to Sydney. And I thought, you know what? I wanted to keep this adventure going, this growth that I'd gone through over that year of traveling around, and the people that I met and the places that I saw and the things that I learned, not just about life, but about myself. I thought, how can I keep this going?
Yep.
And, long story short, I created an opportunity in beautiful Koh Samui, which is a tropical island in the south of Thailand, to work in hotels. And with zero hotel experience or hospitality degree, I got offered $200 a month, which not a whole lot of money, about 7,000 baht, not sure what that is in ringgit. And I said, you know what, I'll take it. And I took the job, and I was very fortunate in that the main investors of this hotel were also involved in that seminar that I had attended back in Australia more than a year ago.
Oh,
So some of those organisers had put their money together to buy this hotel. So I was still kind of linked to that kind of information and that kind of growth mindset about, becoming a better version of ourselves.
yep.
And so I followed the instructions. I was a good boy. The big boss, Ole Larsen, kind of like amazing man and my mentor and boss. He recommended that I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day. And then so for 1 year, that first year that I was there, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning every morning. And, I followed the instructions, and I had a lot to learn, and he could have fired me over 200 times. Yet I somehow managed to pick myself up, dust off, and then just, work hard. And it felt like I graduated from my apprenticeship, if you will. Yeah. And then I moved on to another hotel where I became the general manager. And it was a 5-star boutique hotel. They had the pool villas, the villa hanging off the edge of the cliff, $1,000 per night in this villa. And so I was like, wow, I'd learned a lot over that 5 or 6 years under the apprenticeship of Ole. And it was actually at that time where I kind of discovered the real benefit of coaching. Right. So these seminars that I went to, they were about personal development and becoming a better version, and all that was amazing. My salary did go up from $200 a month too, by the way. But just before I left that first hotel, I had an amazing general manager, and he shared with me the benefit of asking questions to our teams. And instead of just telling my teams what to do, he invited me to look at, what would it look like to ask questions, and thereby helping our teams come up with their own solutions, and to basically help them to be more empowered, thereby empowering myself as well. And so this was in this last kind of 1 year that I was at that first property, where this kind of concept of leadership using coaching skills really kind of fascinated me. And I thought, wow. And, it was shortly after that I got, I left that hotel and got promoted to be a general manager at this new hotel. And that kind of concept of these asking questions stayed with me on the remainder of my leadership journey. Well, lo and behold, that was coaching. Now, that GM at the time, he didn't call it coaching. He just happened to be an awesome leader who used coaching principles to empower people around him. And the beauty of these coaching questions is not only do they work with your teams and other people, they also work for ourselves. And so this is where my true personal development journey went to a whole nother level. And fast forward a couple of years, I was 10 years total in Koh Samui, working in a tropical island, eating my tom yum goong from a coconut as I watched the long-tail boats go past the white sandy beaches with the coconuts wafting in the breeze. By then, I'm earning like $5,000 a month. So life is pretty good, right? But after 10 years, even though my comfort zone, from when I left Australia, my comfort zone was like this, Mr. Factory Box Packer Extraordinaire. As I traveled, my comfort zone grew and expanded and grew and expanded. But even then, even as a GM earning $5,000 a month, and my comfort zone now was out here, I'd actually stopped growing in that last year that I was in Koh Samui. And this shows up in really amazing ways in our life. And the way that it shows up is it's a feeling of being unfulfilled or a feeling of not being happy. So while the external world, that $5,000 a month, working in a 5-star property, ordering anything from the menu, externally it looks, awesome, yet I wasn't happy. And so thankfully I caught it before I, imploded, or this is where we do things like self-sabotage and we create drama in our life, you see, because our purpose as a human is to continually grow and evolve. right? That's part of the reason why we're brought onto this planet. Children know that, right? Children start to crawl and then walk and talk, and they're hungry to learn, and daddy, daddy, mummy, mummy, and they're just like a sponge. They know that their purpose is to continually evolve and grow. You know, you don't see a kid, you know, crawling and then walk and fall down and walk and fall down and say, look, Dad, you know what, this whole walking thing, it's not for me. I'm just going to keep crawling. Like, no child has ever said that ever, right? So we know that our purpose is to continue to grow and evolve. Yep. What happens as we get a little bit older, we forget that, right? And so what that looks like is we stop growing. We, you know, at that time I was not reading any books. I wasn't attending any seminars or workshop. It was just, I was on the hamster wheel called life, of just, you know, going to work and you know, and so I wasn't growing. And as a result, my happiness and fulfillment began to decline.
Wow.
So I thought, okay, yeah, something needs to change. So you have a choice. You can consciously choose to change, or change can happen unconsciously. In other words, in a way that you may not want to happen. Right? So what do I mean by that is, as the universe wants us to grow, and at some very deep level we know that we should continue to grow and evolve, we can consciously choose to do that by reading books or attending seminars or by hanging out with awesome people such as yourself, having stimulating conversations. We can choose to grow that way. Or the universe will find a way to create drama, to push us outside of our comfort zone, to disrupt our very existence. And I wonder if that's what's happening out there right now. I'm not real sure. Something's happening, that's for sure. And so anyway, I chose growth, right? I chose to consciously evolve to another level. So I decided, you know what? I want to be a professional coach and a professional trainer. So I resigned from my cushy 5-star hotel manager's job and then moved up here to Bangkok almost 10 years ago, and then embarked on my journey of sharing these coaching tools and techniques, the NLP, with people throughout Asia. And now in our company Coachology, we're providing training in 15 different countries around the region. And it's now my heart sings because it's fully aligned with my passion and who I am and who I want to be. Now, clearly, as you know, you're working with people in these external events, right? It's the first thing that people stop is going to events and going to trainings and workshops. So clearly this is having a direct impact on my business, on my cash flow, and my ability to be able to share my passion with other people. So we have to adapt. And what does that look like is, well, I just, 30 minutes ago, I just finished our first free online webinar to share some of these coaching tools and techniques with other people so that they can begin to use these coaching tools for themselves, for their families, the people that they care about, and their co-workers, right? Because this level of uncertainty is through the roof right now. So our job as a leader, right? And by leader, I mean, you're a mother or a father, you're leading a team, you're a business owner, whatever it is. Our job as a leader is to create certainty in these uncertain times. Right. And if we can create this, with what's going on, some level of kind of stability, then that will help the people that we care about.
Very good. You mentioned about 10 years ago, when you got to Bangkok, how did you get into coaching, or how did the journey begin, this last 10-year journey?
Yeah, well, I had met a gentleman down on Koh Samui. He was an existing coach and trainer, and he had an existing company in Bangkok. It was very, very small. Basically, it was him and an admin. So then as I joined and worked together with him, what was really amazing with that company is that our personalities were totally opposite, polar opposites. And that actually worked in our favor in those early days because our skill set complemented each other, right? So what do I mean by that? Typically, there's 3 types of business owners. The first type of business owner is what we call the artist, right? They're the artist. They're kind of like, they're the visionary, and they kind of want to create what they want to create. The second type of leader is a manager leader. right? So a manager leader is really good at building systems and processes. They're good at, getting a team together and growing the business that way. And the third kind of leader is an entrepreneur or the risk taker. Now, while we all have all three aspects as part of us, there's normally one that is dominant. And so for my business partner at that time, he was the artist, and then I was the manager leader. So our different skill sets actually complemented each other perfectly. And then so within a couple of short years, we were able to create a multi-million-dollar company.
Very nice.
Fast forward then, after about 5 years, well, I decided I wanted to take my creativity to the next level. And then so together with my amazing, beautiful, talented wife, Christy, we created Coachology together, which was, by the way, the best thing we ever could have done. Why? Because now we have the freedom, the creativity, the synergy to create our business in our way, on our terms. And what do I mean by that is we're attracting the kinds of clients that we absolutely adore and love to work with, the kinds of people that are passionate about their personal development, who want to develop their teams to the next level. And so for us, it was one of the best decisions we ever made.
How old is Coachology today?
2 years old.
Very good.
2 years old, but a total of 10 years coaching and training experience.
Of course. So to date, which are the nations you have done work under your Coachology brand, Luke?
15 countries around the region, including Malaysia, Singapore, Myanmar, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Taiwan, Japan, China, Maldives. That was one of the favorite gigs we ever had, a beautiful hotel in the Maldives, Australia, and maybe one or two others. So pretty much everywhere in the region here.
So obviously you do it in English, and with your wife, who can probably do the Thai version. Now, what other languages have you done any bilingual sessions?
Yes, so my wife is Thai, so we co-facilitate sometimes in English and Thai language. She will sometimes facilitate in full Thai language, and I have another bunch of trainers doing in Thai language. But when I worked in Japan and China, I had side-by-side translation. So whatever the client needs, we're able to find a professional translator who's not just translating the words, but actually the meaning and the content behind the words as well.
Now, I know you're also a huge Tony Robbins fan.
Yes.
So that's only because I know you well enough. And I think you've had a chance to attend one or two of his live sessions.
Yes, multiple sessions, in fact, both as a participant, but also volunteering backstage as part of the crew. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I'd love to share with you a story that helped bring birth or the creation of Coachology.
Oh, wow.
And I was working security with Tony Robbins. And so by security, I mean, I'm one of those guys who was dressed in black, cleanly shaven, no logos or anything, all black, can't smile, can't talk, can't engage with anyone. I just have to stand there like this.
Oh, wow. The beard?
So that was interesting just with that process. And this was in Singapore about 2 or 3 years ago now, okay, with 13,000 people in the audience going nuts. And, I actually knew about 200 people in the audience who were existing kind of clients of mine who I'd taught, these NLP and coaching skills. And they're coming up to me to take selfies and to talk. And I'm like, kind of growling, like, go away. I can't smile. I can't talk to anyone. Because I took my role very, very seriously.
Yep.
And anyway, my security chief, the gentleman who took care of us, there was about 20 of us working the security team.
Yep.
His name was Alonzo. And Alonzo had been around Tony Robbins for about 15 years or so. So he knew the content very, very well. He was well trusted, well respected by everyone. And he was an awesome leader, ex-military, a heart as, this big, just a really, really great guy. And it was actually a coaching conversation that I had with him where he was coaching me.
Oh, wow.
And it was about a 45-minute coaching conversation. And it was like when we go through life and there's a fork in the road,
Yep.
This coaching conversation set me on this new trajectory, which just blew my mind. And there was a couple of things out of that coaching conversation that I'd like to share that might help others as we navigate this kind of VUCA world, this uncertainty that's going on at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said to me, "So Luke, what's going on in your life?" And I said to him, "Well, you know, I'm with another company, and I'm thinking about start up my own company, but you know, I'm not so sure. I'm a bit concerned that, you know, number one, what I helped create over here, which was very successful by then, what I helped create is going to, you know, crash and burn. I'm concerned about the staff. Who's going to lead the staff if I leave? You know, starting up a new business, like what's all that going to be like? Working together with my fiance." So Christy was not yet my wife, and she was not my fiance yet either. She was my girlfriend. What would it be like, you know, living and working and doing everything together all of the time? So I'm sharing these concerns, and he said, "Luke," he said, "did you know that our thoughts only come from two places? Thoughts of fear, right, that it won't work out, that it's never going to be, there's problem, or thoughts coming from faith. Faith that everything will be okay, that everything will be even better than you imagine." And I'm not necessarily talking about religious faith or whatever that is for you. It's, I guess, a sense of trust, a trust in ourselves and a trust in the universe, however you want to call it, that everything will be okay. And I said, "Oh, okay, interesting." So he said, "Luke, based on what you just shared with me just now, where are your thoughts coming from?
Right.
Fear or faith?"
Mm.
And I was like, "Well, it kind of sounded like fear." And he said, "Yeah." Now that first of all was huge to me, because I'm kind of like, you know, Mr. Positive. Yeah, I'm very good at being able to flip a negative situation into a positive. Yet fear is a bit different to being negative. And I was like, "Wow, yeah, interesting, huh?" So that little story that he told me really created a lot of awareness about the nature of my thoughts.
Yep.
But then it got better, and he said, "So Luke, let's imagine for a moment, if you came from faith that everything was going to work out as good or even better than you could imagine, what would that future look like?"
Right.
And I said, "Well, that I move on from that previous organization and they continue to thrive at whatever they want to do.
Yep.
That we set up Coachology, and that it's hugely successful, and we attract the clients that we want to attract." And I said, that's what I imagine. He said, "Okay." And then he said, "So what's the very first thing that needs to happen for you to create that future?" And so, I'm thinking a little bit, and he said, "Remember, coming from faith, right? That everything will work out better than you could imagine." I was like, "Okay, well," I said, "the first thing I need to do is I need to have a conversation with my previous business partner." And he said, "Perfect." He said, "So what would that sound like?" He said, "Let's do a role play." I said, "Okay." So we did this role play, and then I got to see that that's exactly what I needed to do. And so, long story short, from that 45-minute conversation, I asked Christy to be my wife, because again, it was fear. So what if I came from faith? So I asked her to marry me. She said yes. We set up Coachology. I had a very adult, mature conversation with my previous business partner. We found a very amicable win-win, where he was able to do things his way. I was compensated everything evenly and fairly, and I was able to set up the things my way. And then it was the best 45-minute conversation I think I've ever had.
Wow. So
yeah, sorry, please go ahead. It's just nice to actually remember that story again. Like, this is a bit over 2 years ago now that I had that conversation. And when we think, and you know what the beauty of it was? He didn't really tell me what to do. He asked me questions in the right way at the right time, and he wrapped a little bit of it up in a metaphor. And it was so beautiful because it was like what I call conversational coaching, you know, and just the way it was delivered, and it was, yeah, it was just a really, really empowered conversation. And so, you know, from that, and since then, what Christy and I have created with Coachology and our life right now is better than I had ever imagined, coming from faith, right?
Yep.
Coming from a trust that everything will work out okay. And so that lesson and that learning is the same principle that I'm applying into my life and my business right now, right? And
Yep.
it was interesting. I'm here in Bangkok now, looking over. There's hardly any traffic down there. I'm up on the 11th floor here. I've got a bit of a view. I can kind of see what's going on in the busy in the city. The buzz that's normally out there. It's kind of, you know, and so, you know, chatting with Christy the other day, I said, okay, look, let's just put the black hat on for a moment, right? Black hat is, you know, worst case scenario.
Yep.
I said, what if we didn't get any business for 6 months? What would that look like?
Yep.
And then so we explored that without reacting, without coming from fear, just kind of looking at it from a matter of fact point of view. And we analysed that, and we were okay. Like, yes, we have savings, and yes, if that didn't happen, then it would be okay. We would survive, and there would be no problem. So then we said, okay, well, coming back to the more optimistic white hat perspective, what can we begin to do now to bring in the revenue stream during these times of uncertainty? And then so we brainstormed some options, and we came up with some really, really great ideas that we're actually excited about, you know, like finishing the book that I started a year ago, writing out, making an online course that is in here that I just need to put, you know, into some kind of format. Doing online coaching sessions with our clients, doing online group coaching with our corporate clients, and on it went. And we came up with like at least a dozen innovative ideas that we kind of not really made important up until now. But now we have the time. We're gonna be here in this room for the next 4 weeks. So It's actually a perfect time to get this content done, to get these courses built. You know, to do the webinar that we just did 30 minutes ago. Such a great feedback and response. So it's really having the faith, I guess, that, you know, whatever's happening at the moment, it's a speed hump and it's a blip. And there's one thing that I can share, John, one thing that will prevent people from going insane: stop looking at the news. Right, whatever news input you have, and I don't mean to be ignorant or put your head in the sand. If you're going to freak out and stress, limit it to 15 minutes a day, right? And then be as stressed as you want to be stressed. Look at all the CNN and the Fox and all of the other stuff, and just really let yourself freak out for 15 minutes. But then after that, put the Facebook feed away, put all the disinformation away, and get on with the things that you can control in your life, you know, your family. What can you do? You know, what other revenue streams can you explore doing? And get creative. Get that list of to-do things that you've been putting off for a year or two. Get them done.
Yep.
Like, and look at constructive ways to use this time. If you're spending 2 or 3 hours a day consumed by fear because of all the negativity that's out there, then you're not going to do yourself or your family any favors. Yeah. So choose what input you bring in through your 5 senses. And again, it's not to be ignorant. Educate yourself for a few minutes per day. Don't overdo it though, because it's a downward spiral, and then those thoughts of faith will become thoughts of fear, right? And that's just it's not a productive, it's not a creative place in which to live.
Yep. Very powerful, Luke. I mean, I think that exact segment of what you just said is really what I was looking to get out there, because I think people currently sitting at home and scaring themselves silly just because, I mean, as much as we know that, yeah, we need to be productive. Yes, we should come up with a system and follow through every day, even though we're now, you know, remotely working or based at home. But in reality, what do we actually end up doing? Just literally scrolling through our news feed on whichever social media platform, and sharing it in our 100 different WhatsApp groups. So WhatsApp is much bigger here than it is in Thailand, because I know it's a line community up there. But I know, you know, those who do business nationally use WhatsApp. But whereas here, Singapore and the rest of, well, huge part of the world. WhatsApp is huge with all the groups and all that. So everybody is just, forwarding all manner of evil, to the point now every day we get an SMS from the government saying that those who spread false news will be locked away in jail.
Whoa. Gosh.
I know. I mean, it's just because it's just too many, everybody seems to think they know better, right? But now that I've heard what you have to say, Luke, what are the areas where you think you really specialize in when it comes to the topic of coaching? Because obviously, in this decade plus of being exposed to professional coaching, being trained and being a trainer, you have gone down many a path. But what is it exactly that you feel is where you really excel in, your strengths are, and you do very well with downloading it to people around you whenever you do sessions, especially? Where would you say that your key strengths lie in as a coach?
Oh, thanks. Great question. Well, I can probably answer that from two perspectives. So my wife, Christy, she has logged more than 10,000 hours coaching experience, meaning that she's worked one-on-one with people for more than 10,000 hours. And so her strength is simply helping people to achieve their goals, especially in the area of removing any blockages that they might have in themselves.
Yep.
And that's her passion, and that's what she loves to do. And she can get results in a 20-minute conversation, just mind blowing.
Okay.
Where my passion exists is I love to teach leaders and coaches how to coach. Okay. Right. So one thing I've learned is if I continue to do one-on-one coaching, then I can positively impact maybe 5 people a day. But if I'm working to teach and facilitate a group of new coaches who want to become professional coaches or leaders in an organization, and I can share with them coaching tools and techniques and principles about positive mindset and setting goals, and if I can do that with a room full of 20 people, and then I know that those 20 people will each go and impact 4, 5, or 10 people, then there's that leverage effect there, where for every 20 people I coach and train, that they're going to have a positive impact with, say, more than 100 people. Right. And so this is where we're at with Coachology at the moment. We just finished here in Bangkok just before lockdown. We had our NLP coaching program. We had our ICF coaching program, and this is in the middle of all of this is going on. Yet I still had about not a huge group, maybe a dozen people in each class who were still committed to learning these tools, because they know that the world at the moment, in this kind of state that the world is in at the moment, the world needs more coaches. So we had people flying in from Malaysia, from Singapore. There was even one guy who flew in all the way from America for this training. And, we were checking in with each other every couple of days. What's the status at the border at the moment? And I said, well, and this is before it really kicked off in America, right? And I said, yeah. Well, I said, look, I'm committed to go ahead. If there's 3 people in the room, I'm going to go ahead, because that's my commitment to helping produce more internationally certified coaches with integrity and with a heart and a passion to help people. I said, we're going to go ahead. So these 12, courageous souls from 10 different nationalities all around the region and coming in from the States, they love the training. And that's where my passion lies, is to help leaders, business owners, and people who want to be a professional coach and a trainer, to give them the tools, the resources, the techniques, and the processes on how to do that effectively. And I think where I'm differentiated a little bit more is I'm not just interested in the theory, I'm interested in the application, right? So I just don't want people to know the theory of being a coach. I want them to actually put the rubber on the road. So we just finished our 4-day training, and now in the evening times, we're doing online group coaching for the next 2 solid weeks. Okay. That same group of 12 courageous men and women, wherever they are in the world right now, they will come online at 7 o'clock tonight, and we will observe them coaching each other. So we'll observe a coaching conversation. We give them suggestions and feedback. And in that way, even if the others are just observing the coaching conversation, they're all learning on how to apply what they learned in those 4 days to get real results. And if, you know, as they're having those empowering conversations with people who are going through anxiety and fear and uncertainty at the moment, if they can, as they're having those conversations, help them, give them a glimmer of hope, a silver lining, help them to focus on the things that are going to make the difference in the quality of their lives and their businesses, then that's a good thing. And I think that's where you know, our passion lies at the moment, is to create new empowered coaches who can help the world through this change, because that's what's going on, this disruption. It's a change at the moment, and yes, you know, there's pain and there's suffering at the moment, and people are getting sick and all of that, and it's not permanent, right? This will go away, and it's how we choose to respond to it that's going to make the difference. Yes, we can react and we can freak out and we can hoard packets and packets of toilet paper, or we can focus on taking care of the people that we care about, and doing what we can by responding in a more consciously empowered way. And that's the message that I want to get out there at the moment, is, you know, let's not be ignorant. Let's not bury our head in the sand. Let's choose a conscious response rather than the reaction of fear and anxiety.
Powerful. Wow, Luke. I mean, thank you. I think you pretty much summarized it as best as you could. And I think, you know, the best way is just to keep it real, you know, like, I mean, I think it's good that you've come from a journey where you started, as you said, in Sydney, packing boxes, and then you decided
box after box.
You just went out there, you traveled the world and ended up in Thailand, and that has changed the course of your life. You did 10 years in hospitality, in hotel management, and now you're 10 years in coaching. So I think, you know, it gives you perspective to understand how the everyday man and woman who either are wage earners or even business owners, because you've been there, you've been down that road. So it's easy for you to put yourself in their shoes and then now put into practice all that you've learned from a coaching perspective. And I think that's what people feel, that it's easier when a coach can relate to my story and my journey than just trying to tell me something and you don't have a clue what are the shoes I'm wearing and the shoes that I'm in. So you've actually been in those shoes. So I think that makes it easier for you to connect with people. Do you know what I mean?
Thank you, John. And I think as you're kind of recapping there, it reminds me that don't underestimate the power of a positive, empowered conversation.
Yep.
So when I look at each of those crossroads in my life, you know, deciding to attend that very, very first course that I attended in Australia,
yep,
you know, deciding to then go backpacking around the world, to take that career in hospitality when I could have played the safe route and chosen to be an English teacher in South Korea. You know, that 45-minute conversation backstage at a Tony Robbins event. Each one of those powerful conversations that I was on the receiving end of, helped articulate a new path and a new direction that was more aligned and more empowered with my purpose, you know, more aligned to that.
Yeah.
So, you know, for anyone listening, be open to having those conversations, right? It's easy to have conversations based on fear and anxiety and toilet paper and all of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Choose the empowered conversations. Choose the conversations that are sometimes not easy to have. Choose the conversations that, you know, paint a picture of possibility and opportunity. Because if we keep doing what we've always done, we'll get what we've always got. So to get to that next level of success, whatever that is for you, it's to have those different conversations. And you know, a coach or just someone positive, that favorite uncle or auntie that you have, having a conversation with those kind of people can help shine the light on a potential future that you may not yet have discovered. And I think one of the ways that certainly inspires me to do the work that I do is to continually learn and grow. So I mentioned before about, consciously choosing to evolve and grow, or waiting to get that kick in the ass from the universe. One way that we continually choose conscious growth is at least 3 or 4 times a year. Both Christy and myself will attend a training or a workshop somewhere in the world, right? So we've done all of Tony Robbins' events now. So now we're following the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I invite anyone listening to this conversation, YouTube Dr. Joe, have a listen to his content. It's positive. It's just so awesome. And as Christy and I learn new tools and more tools, we're able to take some of these more difficult concepts and explain them in a way that's more easily understood, by everyone. So that continual learning and development, that's something that we consciously do at least 2 or 3 or 4 times a year to make sure that we stay at the top of our game.
Wonderful. Thanks, Luke. I mean, I think this has been very insightful, and I think this story will definitely resonate well for many out there. So I can't wait to share this episode. Just so you know, it's going to be on YouTube as a video, and it'll be on an audio podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. So it's going to be out there, man.
Wow. Awesome. Cool.
You got to do this real, man. Thank you so much for your time, Luke. Is there anything you want to say in parting? I mean, anything that you usually do with a closing of a coaching session, perhaps?
Well, first of all, thank you. I want to say thank you. When we first met 3 years ago, I love your energy, your enthusiasm, and your positivity. And so just to be able to share a platform, with you, with someone like-minded, it just brings me a lot of joy. So thank you very much for that.
Pleasure's all mine.
And maybe there's one of my favorite coaching questions to ask, regardless of what shit is hitting the fan wherever in the world, whatever's going on in the moment is, and this is a great question you can ask for yourself, or you can ask for people that you care about, is you simply ask yourself, what could be good about this event, this situation, whatever's going on in your life at the moment? What could be good about it?
Right.
And, at first the answer might be nothing is good about this. And I would just invite you to, whatever's going on, just really sit with that question for however long it takes, a couple of minutes, an hour, a day. And because here's the thing, if this is the problem, we can't control every single thing that happens outside of us, right? What we can control is our thinking about that thing. So when we have negative thoughts, or we create a negative meaning, that results in a negative emotion.
Yep.
So whatever's going on in the world, we want to do our best to create an empowering, positive meaning about that event. Yeah. Right? As Viktor Frankl famously says, between stimulus and response is a space. In that space lies our power and freedom to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So what does that mean? That stimulus, that's that event, that thing that's happening. And we can't control every single thing. But there is a space, right? It's a beautiful, magical, sacred space where we can choose our response. And that would be my invitation to the listeners right now is, there's stuff going on out there, but you always, always, always have the power to choose a more conscious, empowering response. Most people, there is no space, and there is stimulus, and then there is a reaction, right? And then that reaction shows up like fear or anxiety or blame or this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
Those thoughts create a certain emotion in the body, and that's going to hold you back from achieving the results that you want to achieve. So find that space, make it wider, and then choose a conscious, empowering response. And you will be surprised with some of those answers that you come up with when you ask that beautiful, magical, golden question, what could be good about this? Yeah. And then that second question, are our thoughts coming from fear or faith? Whatever faith means to you, that trust, the universe, Jesus, Muhammad, whatever it is for you, just find that faith that things will work out okay, that this is just a little blip in the matrix. It won't last forever. What can you do now to be better prepared next time? What can you do now to provide for the certainty and the security for the family and the ones that you love? And thank you, John, for what you do to make the world a brighter place.
Thanks, buddy. I mean, this has been powerful, Luke. I'm looking forward to just sharing this episode and your story, because I really think it's powerful, and looking forward to seeing what more we can do together.
Awesome, brother. Bring it on. Can't wait. Once the world gets back to normal, let's meet face to face somewhere and take it to the next level.
Goes well. I should be in Bangkok for a gig, so I'll let you know.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
No problem. Take care, brother.